Welcome back to Media Scan. Viewers, the Places of Worship Act 1991 has again made headlines. This week, the news relates to the Supreme Court halting all such petitions, ongoing hearings or surveys that have been mandated under this law. Now, those who are fighting for a review of the case are upset because they believe that this halting is not on merit, while there are others who have welcomed the move because they think a Pandora's box was being opened, which will now be hopefully stopped. So, on Media Scan this weekend, what is the case for the review of the Places of Worship Act? Also, what does the recent order of the Apex Court mean for all the ongoing cases which are there in various courts across the country? To explore all these questions, we have a very distinguished panel of guests with me this evening. But before that, a quick look at what actually the debate is all about. So, now that we know what are the points of debate in this very interesting case, let me introduce you to our panel of guests for the evening. I have here with me in the DD India studios, Sanjay Chadha, well-known lawyer. He will be able to tell us what the court order really means. Namaskar, Mr. Chadha.
Namaskar.
Also with me, another legal luminary, Deshratan Nigam. You have been listening to him on Media Scan on various occasions. Namaskar, sir. And to help us understand the subject in a more political or cultural sense, I also have with me on the panel Vinod Kumar Bansal, leader of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, which spearheaded the movement for the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya and is also involved in most of the movements or cases that are ongoing in the country. So, if I can come to Mr. Sanjay Chadha first. Mr. Chadha, what is the reason for stopping all hearings, surveys, petitions, etc. related to this act, particularly when the act or the case for the review has not been discussed on merits? Why put a stop on everything is what everybody is asking. So, I will first like to come to Mr. Sanjay Chadha here. Mr. Chadha, the basic question is, why has the court chosen to put a stop on all hearings, petitions, etc. when the case for review has not yet been decided on merit? Because the people believe that it sends negative signals.
Well, as a matter of fact, legally speaking, when a stay or stay in the proceedings is granted, is in the situation if, look, there are two circumstances, two outcome of these cases can be. One in one favor or other in other favor.
Fine,
Meaning,
fine.
so if it goes in other favor, let's say, then what will happen to the proceedings which has happened, surveys, etc.,
When you say
etc.
other favor, you mean not for review.
Not for review or whatever. I mean, any side. So, cautiously court has passed such order. Now, what is the most important aspect? The constitutionality and applicability of this act is before the court now. I want to just give you a little historical. 5-6 takeaways are there for this order.
Quickly, please.
Yeah. Very quickly, 2021, this particular first time this 1991 Act was challenged. Now, after that, the Supreme Court has issued the notice. Centre was supposed to file the reply, which it has not filed. Now, the court has given. Now, I come to those 5-6 takeaways. One or two you have just mentioned, that no fresh case as far till the time decision on the constitutionality and applicability of 1991 Act will be there. First take is that. Second is no more surveys, no more such things, no effective order per se, if I may say so. No effective order will be passed by the courts. So that is another thing. Third is that even before the court, because up till date, there are several petitions which were filed challenging the validity of 1991 Act. So now the court has said stop. Now we will decide these the applicability and constitutionality of 1991 Act, and thereafter we'll see to it.
But my question next is to Deshratan Nigam. Sir, from what Mr. Chadda has, explained to us, isn't it a legal obligation that when an act, the very foundation of the act is being challenged or questioned, then anything that is going on in various courts related to the act needs to be halted? That is one. And on the question of merit, what is really the case for review?
Well, the most important thing out here is when the stays are granted in court. Stays are granted, and urgent stays are granted when a situation on the ground is about to be altered, or person is supposed to, have some grievous injury or irreparable loss. Here, no such thing is taking place. What Supreme Court should have done is, Supreme Court should have allowed all the proceedings to continue and not allowed to pass the final order.
Then we don't know, another sambal would have happened somewhere else.
Then it is the job of the executive to maintain law and order harmony, not the Supreme Court's job. Supreme Court has to go exactly by the Act or the Ancient Monument and Archaeological Site and Remains Act, which provides an exception under this Places of Worship Act 1991. Therefore, it is not the job of the courts to maintain communal harmony. It is the executive function. And if the executive fails in performing that function, then only the court should intervene. Please remember that.
And this case about the, places or sites which are believed to be exempted from the DARE Act, that also is creating a lot of confusion about what is exempted, what is not exempted.
I'll explain that.
Briefly, please.
See, under the very same act which has been challenged, Section 4, subsection 3, Clause A clearly provides if a monument, ancient monument, site or remains falls under that particular act, Ancient Monument, Sites and Remains Act of 1958, then it is not covered by Places of Worship Act. All the places are more than 300, 400, 500 years old. So there is, since 1958, it should be 100 years old. That is 1858.
Then the counter argument that I have heard legal luminaries like you putting up is that when it is such an ASI protected monument, but it is a mosque or a place where worshipping is on, how does one find the way out of it?
Let me answer that. First and foremost, our civilizational ethos and culture is based on truth must be revealed. You can't hide the truth. Then comes the second stage, whether the particular structure under the respective religious laws will be mosque or a temple. This has to be said. What is a mosque? It has to be established. Then only you will come to the second question, whether the character has been changed or not. The issue is, under Islam, if you have forcibly taken a place, destroyed and established a structure on top of it, then it is not a mosque. So therefore, the first question has to be gone into whether that place is still a mosque or a temple. Then the change of religious character issue will come. Only then the next question will come. So these are very important questions that one has to go into.
Point taken, sir. Point taken. But I think the only counter argument here will be that existing word, the existing clause may become an impediment.
Again, just one sentence.
Please hold your thought.
No, just one sentence.
Yes, quickly, please.
The very fact, if you read the Hindi Act and the English Act, in Hindi it is said, Swaroop nahi badla ja sakta. In English it says character. Swaroop means inherent nature. Just by building another building on it, will the Swaroop or the nature or character of the place changes or not?
Okay, so that's another point to discuss. But let me come to Vinod Bansal here. Vinod Bansal ji, very straight question, sir. An act was passed by the parliament in its wisdom, and it was agreed that except one site, everything else which existed as on 15th August 1947 will not be challenged or disturbed. Why do you want to disturb the peace of the country by bringing in new cases every day? Or why do you support any such petitions, sir?
There are two questions. The Congress government has taken up the two draconian law in their single tenure. One in 1991, the Places of Worship Act, and other in 1995, the Waqf Act. the thing is that these are the two important legislations which have been passed by the parliament, for which the Hindu society kept mum. But we have seen the repercussions of these two acts actually. Well, your viewers very well know that what type of repercussions are coming out of these two laws. One is that you stop me to dig out the truth. Whatever truth is there behind the temple or the mosque, I'm not able to do it because you say you cannot go back. Secondly, in 1995 Waqf Act, you have given the exorbitant powers to the Islamic community that you can claim anything on anywhere, and anytime. And you see, even if the Places of Worship Act applicable, why they have been capturing lot many temples, lot many houses, and even the blazes itself, which have never been the part of the Islamic ethics. And the thing is that the 1995 Places of Worship Act is not applied to that. They can claim even the temples which have been built prior to the existence of the Islam. Why?
So
what
for
type
the
of
Bansalji, for the clarity of our viewers, is your anger about the Waqf Act because it is different and you think the Places of Worship Act is discriminatory? Is your anger more about the apprehension that more sites are being captured in the meantime? What is the real complaint, sir?
No, Smitaji, we do not have any problem. You see, both the act were passed, and the Hindu community has never been challenged or never agitated for that. But even though, if the implementation of those acts are being on the ground illegally, the properties are being captured, and so many mini Pakistans have been generated within the Bharat. Or you see, what type of the cruelty have seen in the history by the Mughals and other Islamic jihadists. You see, so many attacks have been made on the temples. The countryman has the right to know the fact of the case.
Okay.
Why we are being stopped to find out the facts? They are worried about to know the fact, because they know that if the truth will come out, they will be nabbed and they will be unveiled.
Is it your case that the Places of Worship Act was passed in a hurry, it was haphazard, and it was not well thought about the issues that you are raising, that justice needs to be done? Is that your point?
Smitaji, that is not the only point. The question is that these are the draconian law, I say, which have been imposed on the majority community of this country. And you see, there is no country where the majority population are being tortured by the so-called minority population.
Okay,
Why?
okay. Let me take that to Mr. Chadha. Mr. Chadha, Places of Worship Act in its foundation, in its very foundation, was an unjust law because it was being unfair to the majority community. What do you think of that? Second, what happens to all the other ongoing suits over the country, which includes even Kashi Mathura? We have Sambal. Recently, there was the Jaunpur side. There is already a case in Dhar. And many more cases have been raised by people which are at various stages in different, courts of law.
I'll reply to the second question first, because that is a one-liner answer. As on today, after the Supreme Court's order, now the effective hearing on all these cases will be stopped. No effective hearing will take place. So very clarity. And they can do any proceedings. The courts can do, the civil courts can do any proceedings after the outcome of this law. I remember Justice Vishwanathan.
So at whatever stage the hearing is in any of these sites, now goes into limbo.
Now goes into limbo. Now what Justice Vishwanathan has said, civil courts cannot run race with Supreme Court. These are the words. You can't run race. That is one. Now, second, the question, the first question which you had asked, you are saying that the 1991 Act is against the majority community. Number one, this is what was the question.
The question is, I am only articulating what people opposing the law have been arguing.
No, now who will decide this? Look, first of all, the Parliament has passed this law. Only place from where the law comes is Parliament. And whether that law is ultra-virus to Constitution, whether it is against the ethos of the people, then there are two options. One, you either go to the Supreme Court and ask, that's what is happening here, applicability and constitutionality of the law. That is one option. And second option is with the government. The government can pass another law. Who is stopping anybody? If this law is not okay, let's pass another law. That is also.
Yes.
So what I feel is we are at the right juncture. We are at the right place. Now let the constitution, the Supreme Court comes up with the constitutionality and applicability of this law, 1991 law, and I think that outcome would suffice the situation, and everything will be at the place. Settle the things.
Fine. Mr. Nigam, one important thing which came out of Thursday's hearing was that there was no position taken by the centre, the government, which the court took notice of, and now the centre has been given 4 weeks to come with an affidavit where it can articulate its position on this very controversial law. So, as a legal luminary, and someone who is connected to the right-wing thought of the country, what do you think the centre's reply? What value can it bring to the case?
Well, Smita ji, there is nothing called right-wing. It is by default there is left. Therefore, we are called right. So, let me tell you and your audience one thing, that this particular issue has been simmering for a long time, and a court cannot deliver a judgment or pass anything, an order, unless the court hears both the sides. Here in this particular case, the government of India has been given time to file its response within 4 weeks, which is justified, which is nothing wrong with it. But as a lawyer, somebody who has practiced for about 30 years, and such kind of an order where there is a blanket stay and everything is not justified. The court should allow all the proceedings, and the stay should only have been from passing the final order.
So we've been through that already.
Therefore,
please come to the affidavit of the centre.
So
what do you think the affidavit should include?
I cannot be very speculative on that. Probably some of the points that I am saying may come out there. But the fact remains, how is this act which is unjust, which people say wounds of the past history, whose wounds are they talking about? Only one community's wound? What about the wounds of the other side? History they talk about? Is India's history only medieval history? What about the other history? These are very important questions that one have to go into. You can't have one-sided history saying we'll only concentrate on medieval history, will not go beyond that. Or the wounds. What about the wounds of the Sanatanis who have been continuously asking for the places, and they have been in fact worshipping also inside?
But are these arguments or points that a government of the day can articulate?
See, it is up to them what legal advice do they take and what has been there on the facts of the case.
No, what do you think?
See, the fact is, surveys are important aspects which the courts have been ordering in numerous cases to establish the truth. That truth has to be first established. Once you do that, then subsequent questions one has to go into. Unless until you establish the truth, whether it was a temple or a mosque, then how come the other questions can arise? The character has been changed. Whose character has been changed?
Okay, so you do agree that all these surveys and all are required. They are the lead of the day.
Yes, because they reveal the truth. What happens subsequently, whether the parties would like to sit down in mediation, sort out their things, is another issue.
Fine. I'll come to Vinod Bansal on that. Vinod Bansal, I know it will take some time, but the way the direction that the hearing is taking, this is hypothetical, but let us suppose that the court rules for not going for review of the act at all. In that situation, what will be your plan of action? People who have been fighting for surveys and finding the truth, as you said, in various other sites. Also, do you think it is time the centre needs to come with a new law and then put a lid on this entire debate forever? What is your point?
Smitaji, we should not mistrust or being the doubtful about the passing of the court's judgment. Actually, the thing is that Hindu community has always been into the mindset that we always obey the law made by the honorable parliament, as well as the judgments passed by the honorable courts. But the question is that this is very much clear and transparent. That, and if you see the 150-year-old ASI survey report, I think you might have seen it, that how this ASI, the Director General ASI, who was never belongs to Sangha Parivar, VHP, RSS or BJP, all were not in existence that time. He has given the clear-cut judgment, clear-cut report that thousands and thousands of temples were demolished and the superstructure was imposed upon him. And by hiding all those threats, why you are afraid of the situation that the threat will come out?
No, that point is taken, sir. But we don't want to preempt a court judgment here. But suppose it goes not for review, so can we presume that all these cases and claims will stop then?
No, you cannot say that we will not go to the review. The people of the country have all legal rights and legal recourse. You see, so many cases have been decided by the Honorable Supreme Court by five judges bench and 7 judges bench, even though they go to the higher up for review and all. So we cannot say that we will file the review petition. But the question is that who are the person who are afraid of the situation that the truth will come out and what will happen to their atrocities being committed by those forefathers. The question is that one should go by law. In fact, now. We are going by law.
You are saying,
and see,
yes.
If we go by law, then the things like the stone pelting or the atrocities and the attacks on the Hindus are being repeatedly being done. Why? They should go to the court. When the Hindu community has gone to the court for finding the truth and claiming the temple, then you should also go to the court. Because you do not believe in the court's judgment, you do not believe in the legislation of the country, you do not believe in the history of the country, because you always been into the path holders of the Mughals, the foreign intruders. That's why you are always speaking against it, and you are always throwing.
So you are saying that the reaction of the minority community is not reasonable, is what you are saying. That their attitude is not for resolution of things. But I get your point that even if the court decides not to review, you say that you have a lot of other legal options in the coming days, if and when it comes to that. Is that right?
Smita ji, मैं एक और बात आपको correction करूंगा. They are not the minority community. Actually, they are not the minority community. The Muslims are not the minority community. They are the second largest majority of the country, and they have been getting the benefit out of it. And you see,
okay,
so many
fine. Okay, I'm afraid, Bansalji, that will lead to a much longer debate. I'll need a separate episode only to so that we can explore that area. But for today, I must thank you, Vinod Bansalji, for joining us at such short notice.
Welcome.
And explaining your arguments, your points so well to our viewers. And Sanjay Chadda ji and Mr. Desh Ratan Nigam, thank you very much for joining us in the DD studios. It has been very helpful the way you have presented your perspective and your understanding of the law. Perhaps one of these days we shall get together again and see as the case progresses. Thank you very much. Thank you. As all the gentlemen have explained, the Places of Worship Act remains one of the contentious laws because both sides or even all the sides have various arguments, all very strong in their own favor. Now that the case has come up for review, everybody is hopeful that a final picture will emerge so that we will know for certainty what will happen to all those cases that are going on in the country and any more such cases that may emerge in the coming future. However, viewers, with this, it's a wrap up on Media Scan for this evening. We will meet you again next weekend with another issue of national importance. Till then, namaskar.